Hey everyone, this is Narlock. Thanks for joining me on the newest devlog video. It's been a while since my last devlog video, but I'm excited to talk about another feature I added to my Discord bot. But before we get started, if you are curious about the features I've made on my bot, I recently open sourced it as well so others can run and contribute to it. Visit my site alder.narlock.dev for more info. The most recent feature that I want to share is a reminders feature. Reminders are simply a notification or an alert that someone sets up to help them remember tasks, events, or other important information. Some might be familiar with setting reminders on your phone using an app that later sends your phone a notification that the reminder should be triggered. I've personally found that applications specifically on my phone for reminding me to do things have not worked as well as I would have liked them to. As someone that has increasingly moved away from my phone for my interactions, Discord has been something that I have kept using every single day. Since I can be signed into Discord on my computers and my phones, I can easily get notifications from it no matter what device I'm using. So what we're going to build today is a reminders command on our Discord bot that allows users to create simple reminders that they can then receive by the bot when they occur. One of the other things I'm highly interested in is recurring events. This way, we can set reminders with the intention of forming habits. Let's start by outlining how a reminders application is going to work. If I want a user to be reminded a single time, we want to know what the user wants to be reminded about and when the user wants to be reminded. Once we know these things, we can then remind the user. I'm interested in the ability to repeat reminders. I don't want users to have to create hundreds of the same reminder for each day of the week if they can only do it once and can be reminded for all of those days. To solve this, the user can provide an option to repeat their reminder. For simplicity, we'll add 3 options: daily, weekly, and monthly. Now, what kind of information do we need to store to maintain our information? Well, for starters, we need somewhere to store the reminders themselves. My Discord bot currently uses MySQL to host its data. We'll expand off my existing implementation and create a reminders table in our database. A reminder can have a unique identification number. We also want a way to know who owns a reminder. We don't want another user getting reminded for something they did not make, nor do we want another user deleting someone else's reminders. We will define this as a user ID column on our table. Then let's add the column title, which will represent what the user wants to be reminded about, a remind at column, which will represent the date and time to remind, and a repeat interval column, which will represent if the reminder should be repeated daily, weekly, or monthly. Now that we have our database design, let's write the SQL to create the table in our database. With our table created in our database, let's implement a way for our bot to retrieve the data from the database. My original implementation had the bot connect directly to the MySQL instance on the machine, but I added a new layer between the bot and the database called an API. This API was programmed in Python and is a REST API. I specifically built this to perform CRUD operations against the database. This way, I can simply call the API to modify and retrieve data, instead of connecting to the database directly. Let's define some REST operations for our new table. I want users to be able to create reminders. We'll create an operation on our REST API for the bot to call to create a reminder on the database. We will make this an HTTP post request that takes in the contents of the reminder and then stores it on the database. Next, we want users to be able to view their reminders. This will be the main way that users know the identification number of their reminders. We'll make this operation an HTTP GET request that requires a user ID. The response from this will return all of the user's reminders. We also want the bot to be able to read all of the reminders for all users. We'll create an operation to retrieve all of the reminders from the database. We'll also make this a HTTP GET, but we won't require any parameters. If a user decides they don't want to be reminded about something anymore, we should offer a way for the user to delete the reminder. We can make a delete reminder operation an HTTP delete request, where we will take the reminder ID as a parameter. When the bot reminds a user of a reminder, and then sees that the reminder should be repeated either the next day, week, or month, the bot should call to update the database to store the next time to send the reminder. Specifically, we need the capability to update an existing reminder's repeat at field. I'll define this as an HTTP put request that takes the ID of the reminder to update, followed by the date and time of the reminder. With our REST API spec defined, let's get coding. The beauty about creating an API instead of connecting the bot directly to the database is that we can test the API component itself to ensure all of the operations within the API work before we start programming the bot. This decouples the project since the bot no longer has to contain all the components to connect to the database. After implementing these operations to our REST API, let's create the client class inside of our Discord bot to call our new API endpoints. With our connection to our API established, our bot can now retrieve and modify data from our database. Let's now work to implement the actual reminders command on Discord. I want the reminders command to accomplish two things: allow the user to view the reminders and allow the user to create a reminder. We'll create a separate command called delete reminder for handling deleting a reminder. To allow our reminders command to accomplish both viewing and creating a reminder, we will define viewing reminders as simply just calling the /reminders command and not providing any parameters to it. We'll consider creating a reminder by calling the /reminders command with parameters. For creation, we will require users to enter a title for what they want to be reminded about, a remind date, which will represent the date they want to be reminded on, and the remind time, which will be what time they want to be reminded at. We can also have a repeat interval parameter as an optional parameter that represents whether a user wants to create a daily, weekly, or monthly reminder. If a user chooses not to enter a repeat interval, the reminder will be a single occurrence. With our reminder command defined, let's program it into our Discord bot. We can utilize our reminder client that we use to interact with the REST API for performing our operations. I also designed a Discord interface to display the reminders to the user. Next, we'll implement the delete reminder command. This one will be relatively simple. The user will call the delete reminder command with the ID of the reminder they want to delete, and we call the API to delete the reminder from the database. There is one important thing though. We want to make sure that the user using the command also owns the ID of the reminder. This check will ensure that a user does not delete another user's reminder. We can accomplish this by comparing the user ID column of the ID and ensuring it is equal to the calling user. Now that a user can create, view, and delete reminders, we need to make sure our bot can actually handle the reminders. We want our bot to be able to obtain the list of reminders and remind the user when the time comes to remind them. We also want the bot to be able to delete reminders if they only occur once and update them if they occur more than once. To accomplish this, I created a reminders dictionary that our bot will populate on startup using the API's getAllReminders operation. It will read each reminder and store its contents inside of the dictionary. From here, we can set up a tasks loop that executes every minute to check the reminders. It will loop through each of the reminders in the dictionary and check if any of them need to be completed. If it needs to be completed, we will perform the operation of sending the message to the user on Discord with the title of their reminder. Afterwards, the bot will determine whether to delete or update the reminder. And just like that, we have a fully functioning reminders app built into our Discord bot that users on our server can utilize. However, there is a big underlying inconvenience for users. This is that the current implementation assumes that each user lives in the same time zone. That means if someone from North America scheduled a reminder at 12 o'clock and someone from Europe did the same, they would both get notified at the same time. We can easily resolve this by introducing a time zone attribute to our user table. We can default this value to UTC and allow users to change their time zone using the /timezone command. With the timezone command implemented, we are finally completed with our reminders feature. I think this tool could come in handy if someone is looking for a reminders app inside of something like Discord, which is a notification that users can get on their phones, tablets, and computers. That will conclude this video. Thanks to everyone who made it until the end. If you're interested in more content like this or would like to join our community, come join us over on Discord. I also stream my own focus study sessions live on this channel and would love to see you there. Until next time, if you made it this far, you were here. Take care.